Welcome to HH28, where we unravel the secrets of self-discovery and matchmaking. We are Hugh and Heather,
two master holistic guides dedicated to helping you navigate the worlds of numerology, astrology, and personality in pursuit of meaningful connections.
All right, ready for another deep dive? This time, we're tackling Sagittarius. You know, that free-spirited archer who's always up for an adventure?
And we've got your charts right here, ready to uncover what makes Sagittarius tick, especially when it comes to compatibility. Love, friendships, work, even business ventures, we're exploring it all.
Because let's be honest, who isn't a little curious about who they vibe with best? So for anyone who hasn't encountered a Sagittarius in the wild, how would you describe this sign?
How about this? Think of that friend who's always down to try anything once. That's your Sagittarius.
Always the life of the party, right?
Exactly. They just radiate this infectious optimism and enthusiasm. Always up for adventure, always seeking new knowledge, whether it's through travel, deep conversations, or that new Thai restaurant everyone's talking about. They're driven by this deep desire to expand their horizons.
It's that yes and energy that's so contagious.
You nailed it. But of course, nobody's perfect.
Definitely not saying that.
Because of that adventurous spirit, a Sagittarius might sometimes overlook the more practical, grounded aspects of life.
Okay, so maybe not the best at always planning ahead or sticking to a strict schedule.
You're getting the idea.
Yeah.
But hey, that's part of what makes them so exciting to be around.
Totally. But that actually makes me even more curious about who can match their energy. You know, like who can keep up with them on all those adventures. Speaking of, let's talk about love. Who's the ideal partner in crime for a Sagittarius?
Well, when we look at the charts, there's a strong pull towards other fire signs.
Makes sense. So we're talking Aries and Leo.
You got it. It's that shared energy, that instant connection, that instinct to embrace life with, well, gusto. But interestingly enough, Gemini, an air sign, also emerges as a strong contender for Sagittarius.
Whoa, so we're talking double the fire with Aries and Leo, and then a bit of a wild card with Gemini. What happens when two fire signs collide like that?
It can be electric. With Aries, think shared impulsivity.
Oh, I can see it now. Weekend getaways planned on a whim, last-minute concert tickets.
Exactly. Trying that new extreme sport, it's a constant whirlwind of excitement.
Sounds exhilarating, but maybe a little exhausting too.
Maybe, especially long term. And that same impulsivity can lead to clashes. If neither one's grounding the other, decisions can, well, backfire. Spectacular.
So maybe a seatbelt is required with that pairing.
At least a helmet. But with Leo, it's less about that impulsivity and more about shared enthusiasm, and love for the spotlight.
So a little less likely to jump out of a plane together, but maybe more likely to, start a band?
Now you're getting it. Both signs are incredibly social and thrive on expressing themselves creatively. Picture a couple who throws legendary parties, is always up for a new dance class, and never misses an opportunity to encourage and champion each other. That's the Leo-Sagittarius dynamic.
It sounds like constant fun, but in a supportive way. Now, you mentioned Gemini earlier, which I have to admit surprised me a little. They're not a fire sign, so what's the draw there?
You're right. They might not have that fiery impulsiveness, but Gemini brings something else to the table. Intellectual curiosity that rivals a Sagittarius.
So it's not just about keeping up with them physically, it's mentally, too.
Exactly. This is a pairing that thrives on stimulating conversations, debating different perspectives, and never letting the mental spark fade. They challenge each other intellectually and keep things interesting. And remember, for a Sagittarius, boredom is the ultimate relationship killer.
Makes sense. So it's about having adventures both inside and outside the house. But let's be real, not every pairing is astrological bliss. Are there signs that might require a bit more finesse for a Sagittarius to navigate?
Absolutely. While fire and air signs tend to fan those Sagittarius flames, earth signs in particular can present some challenges.
Okay, so we're talking Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn here.
Right on.
What is it about earth signs that tends to clash with the free-spirited Sagittarius?
It comes down to their fundamental approaches to life. Earth signs are all about practicality, stability, and routine. They like things planned out, predictable, with minimal risk.
Sounds a bit stifling for a Sagittarius, right?
You can say that again. Take Taurus, for example. They're all about indulging in the senses, creating a cozy, stable home life. They find comfort in routine, whereas Sagittarius craves spontaneity.
So one thrives on the familiar while the other needs constant novelty.
Exactly. And if a Taurus feels like their need for security is threatened, that's when those horns come out.
Oof. Yeah, not a good look. What about Virgo? They're such planners. I can already see the potential conflicts.
Precisely. Virgo thrives on organization and meticulous attention to detail. Imagine a Sagittarius trying to plan a last-minute trip with a Virgo who needs a color-coded itinerary 6 months in advance.
Oh, dear.
You can see how those differences could lead to some tense moments, to say the least.
And Capricorn, they're all about ambition, but in a very structured, disciplined way, which feels like a potential clash with Sagittarius.
Definitely can be. Capricorns are planners focused on those long-term goals and achieving success through, hard work and perseverance.
Playing by the rules, doing things the right way.
Exactly. They value tradition. Whereas Sagittarius, they prefer to wing it a little.
Yeah.
Trust their instincts, take risks.
Which, to a Capricorn, might look like recklessness.
You got it. This clash in styles, it can make it tough for them to see eye to eye, especially when compromise is key.
Definitely a pairing that requires some effort and understanding from both sides. But it makes me think, all this talk about compatibility, we usually focus on romantic relationships. But what about friendships?
Such a good point.
It's not something people always consider through this astrological lens. So who makes the cut for Sagittarius when it comes to those ride or die friends?
Oh, this is fun. We've got to start with Aries again.
Of course. Those two just seem to click on some cosmic level.
It's that shared impulsivity, remember, that thirst for adventure we talked about, translates beautifully into a platonic realm.
Instead of jumping out of planes as a couple, they're doing it as like daredevil buddies.
Exactly. Exploring hidden gems on a whim, always pushing each other to step outside their comfort zones.
That sounds like a blast. But with all that shared impulsivity, do they ever slow down? Like, who brings the grounding force to the friendship?
That's where a little air sign magic comes in handy. Just like in love, Gemini holds a special place in a Sagittarius's heart when it comes to friendship.
It's those endless conversations, isn't it? The kind where you completely lose track of time.
100%. Geminis are naturally curious, always eager to learn new things, explore different perspectives.
And Sagittarius is always up for a good debate.
Right. They can chat for hours, bouncing ideas off each other, debating everything and anything. This intellectual connection. Major bonding point for these two.
It's like they feed each other's minds, which, knowing Sagittarius, is just as important as any physical adventure. We can't forget Leo, though. Surely that playful, vibrant energy makes for an incredible friendship, too.
Oh, for sure. Leo brings that warmth, that generosity, that loyalty that Sagittarius truly cherishes in a friend.
Those two would have each other's backs no matter what.
Always. They'd be the life of the party together, always up for a good time, and fiercely supportive of each other's dreams.
It's a beautiful thing seeing those fire signs lift each other up, but let's be honest, not all signs vibe on that level of intensity.
Right.
Are there any signs that might not be as compatible with Sagittarius when it comes to friendship? What about those earth signs we discussed?
You're right. Maintaining friendships with earth signs can sometimes require a bit more effort from a Sagittarius. Remember that fundamental difference in how they approach life.
Earth signs are all about that stability and predictability, right?
Yeah, and Sagittarius thrives on spontaneity, change.
Like trying to mix oil and water sometime.
Perfect analogy.
Huh.
With Taurus, it can be tricky. While both signs value loyalty and enjoyment, there are ways of expressing those values.
Totally different.
Taurus prefers those quiet nights in, deepening existing bonds, sticking to familiar routines. Sagittarius, they'd rather expand their social circle, explore new places, say yes to every invitation.
So one friend is hitting up that new club, the other's home with their weighted blanket. I can see the friction.
Absolutely. Then there's Virgo, that grounded, practical nature. Can feel stifling to a Sagittarius.
Virgos are such helpers, though, always wanting to fix things, offer advice.
Which comes from a good place, absolutely. But their tendency to, point out flaws, overanalyze situations, it can be a drag for a Sagittarius who just wants to focus on the positive and go with the flow.
It's all about finding that balance, right? Appreciating the differences, but also recognizing when those differences might just cause constant clashes.
Exactly. And then we have Capricorn. While these two can admire each other's drive and ambition, maybe from a distance.
Their approaches are just too different for a truly easy friendship.
You got it. Capricorns are all about setting clear goals, working hard, achieving success through that discipline. They might see Sagittarius's carefree approach as, irresponsible, maybe even lazy.
So those late-night study sessions or career strategy meetings that Capricorn lives for might not be Sagittarius's cup of tea.
Not at all. They'd rather be off exploring the world or debating the meaning of life.
It's making me realize how important it is to understand these dynamics, not just for romantic relationships, but friendships too.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing those fundamental differences and then deciding, okay, how much effort are we willing to put in to bridge that gap? Because ultimately, strong relationships, they require a willingness to, meet each other halfway.
So true. But, as we're talking about different approaches to work and life, it makes me wonder how these compatibility patterns play out in a professional setting. Because let's be real, we spend a huge chunk of our lives at work, and having some astrological insight there could be really helpful.
Oh, it's huge. It's so often overlooked. But having that astrological harmony in the workplace, it can make a world of difference in how we collaborate, how we communicate, and ultimately how we thrive.
So let's dive into that. First things first, what kind of work environment allows a Sagittarius to really shine?
They need a space that's stimulating, allows for creativity and independence, and isn't afraid of a little risk-taking.
Okay, so definitely not a stuffy corporate cubicle for this fire sign.
Not if they can help it.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to specific sign pairings, remember those fire signs that ignite Sagittarius' soul. They're back in the game in the work arena.
Let me guess. Aries is making a comeback.
You know it. These two are a force to be reckoned with in the workplace. They bring boundless energy, a shared passion for innovation, and a willingness to take risks.
So picture them brainstorming new ideas, pitching clients, and celebrating wins with that infectious enthusiasm that only a fire sign duo can really bring.
You got it.
Yeah.
They make work fun, that's for sure.
They do. What about Leo? How does their leadership style mesh with Sagittarius's more independent nature?
Leo brings that natural charisma and vision, right? They're not afraid to take charge, to inspire others. And Sagittarius, while independent, thrives when they have a shared goal to work towards.
Which Leo can provide.
Exactly. They challenge each other, they motivate each other, they create a dynamic that fosters both creativity and productivity.
So it's not about one being the boss and the other following. It's about mutual respect and shared vision.
100%. Now, let's not forget about Gemini. Remember their knack for communication and brainstorming. That translates beautifully into a professional setting.
I can imagine them being amazing at coming up with innovative marketing strategies or just bouncing ideas off each other in general.
Totally. Their synergy is undeniable.
It seems like a common thread for a successful Sagittarius work pairing is someone who can keep up with their energy, but also bring their own unique strengths to the table.
Absolutely. But as with anything, it's all about balance. And while fire and air signs tend to harmonize with Sagittarius's natural energy, earth signs can present some challenges in the workplace, just like in friendships.
Here come those speed bumps again. What is it about earth signs that makes collaborating with a Sagittarius a bit trickier?
It comes down to their different approaches to work, much like in other areas of life. Earth signs thrive on structure, routine, predictability. They value practicality, efficiency, attention to detail.
Which can be amazing qualities in a colleague.
But Sagittarius operates on instinct, thrives in chaos, prefers to figure things out as they go.
So imagine a highly structured Capricorn manager trying to rein in a Sagittarius employee who prefers to work on their own terms. That sounds interesting.
You got it. Capricorns have a clear vision of how things should be done. They value hard work, dedication, following the rules. While they can admire Sagittarius's enthusiasm, their creativity. Their methods might seem too chaotic.
Or even disrespectful of those established procedures.
Right. Now, Taurus, they're a little more laid back than Capricorn. Maybe less clash there.
You'd think so, but...
While it's true that Taurus isn't as inherently structured as Capricorn, their differences can still create friction. Taurus values stability, security, a steady pace. They're creatures of comfort, prefer to stick to what they know. Sagittarius, with their constant need for change and novelty, might perceive Taurus as resistant to new ideas, or, dare I say it, boring.
And we know how much Sagittarius hates boredom.
Right. Okay, last but not least, we've got Virgo. All about the details, remember.
Oh, I can already see those worlds colliding.
Virgos are meticulous, detail-oriented, believe in doing things by the book. They can be incredibly efficient and dedicated workers. However, their need for perfectionism and tendency to overanalyze.
Frustrating for a Sagittarius who prefers to keep things moving.
Exactly. Their work styles are just fundamentally different. But remember, even with these potential challenges, it doesn't mean collaboration is impossible.
It's about recognizing each other's strengths, and weaknesses, and
Yeah.
figuring out how to make them work together, right?
Exactly. It's not always easy, but it's possible.
Yeah.
But before we wrap up this Sagittarius deep dive,
We've got one last area to explore.
we do business partnerships.
Yeah.
Because if you're a Sagittarius thinking about, starting a business, you're going to want someone who complements your, I don't know, entrepreneurial spirit.
For sure. So who are we looking at here? I have a feeling I already know.
Those fire signs,
Yeah.
they're back. When it comes to building a business empire, they're there with you.
I just can't stay away, can they? Okay, let's start with Leo. What is it about this pairing that just screams power couple of the business world?
Think about their strengths, right? Combined Leo. They bring that natural leadership, that ability to inspire and motivate others towards a common goal.
They're great at getting people excited about their vision.
Exactly. They have a knack for branding, marketing, generally making things look amazing. Sagittarius brings that big picture thinking, that willingness to take risks, and that adventurous spirit, essential for any startup that wants to be successful.
You've got the visionary and the one who actually makes it happen. A match made in, well, entrepreneurial heaven, I guess.
You said it. They complement each other so well. Now, Aries, can't forget them. Remember that shared drive, that unstoppable energy.
When those two team up, it's like, watch out, world.
Right. That's a recipe for a dynamic and, dare I say, unstoppable business partnership.
I can already picture them coming up with like a million innovative ideas a minute. But what about their impulsiveness? Isn't that kind of a liability in business?
It can be, which is why having those complementary skill sets is so crucial. Aries, they bring that boldness, that willingness to, dive in headfirst to new ventures.
And Sagittarius brings a bit more of a long-term strategy.
Right. If they can find that balance, their combined drive, it can lead to incredible things.
It's all about finding that balance between taking risks and, not going completely off the rails.
100%. And while fire signs might steal the show when it comes to Sagittarius compatibility, we can't underestimate air signs, particularly Aquarius.
Oh, that's right. They haven't gotten to play in the business world yet. What makes them a good match for Sagittarius in this arena?
Aquarius. They bring that innovative, out-of-the-box thinking that can take Sagittarius's vision to a whole other level.
So, if Sagittarius is thinking big, Aquarius is thinking even bigger.
Exactly. They encourage each other to push those boundaries. Plus, they both love their independence.
Which is important when you're trying to run a business together, right? You don't want to feel like you're constantly on top of each other.
Exactly. They get that need for space.
Yeah.
All while still working toward that common goal. But as we've seen with everything, it's all about balance, right?
Yeah.
Earth signs, they can be a bit more challenging as business partners for Sagittarius, just like with everything else.
It's those contrasting approaches to work and risk, isn't it?
Yes. It's that classic clash of slow and steady versus fast and fearless.
Okay, so let's break it down. Capricorn. Incredibly ambitious, driven,
But they're very structured, very methodical in their approach, believe in planning carefully, managing risks, achieving success through hard work and dedication. Sagittarius, a little more intuitive, trust their gut, and they don't shy away from risks.
So are we picturing a Capricorn meticulously crafting a 5-year business plan while the Sagittarius is already launching 3 new product ideas?
That's it. And unless they respect each other's approaches,
Yeah.
it's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
Then there's Taurus. Remember their love of stability, routine. That can be great in some contexts, but
You can make them a little resistant to change.
especially the rapid kind that Sagittarius tends to thrive on. So Taurus might be busy perfecting their product line while Sagittarius is already brainstorming 10 new ones.
And then there's Virgo, all about the details, always.
Right. Their meticulousness, their need for perfection, it can clash with Sagittarius's more, spontaneous big picture style.
I think we're seeing a theme here.
Definitely.
But, navigating those differences, it all comes down to self-awareness, right? Communication, a willingness to compromise. It's not about finding someone exactly like you, but finding someone who complements your strengths, challenges your weaknesses, and someone who inspires you to grow. And sometimes, honestly, those incompatible pairings, they can actually lead to the most unexpected and rewarding partnerships.
So couldn't agree more. Astrology, it's a guide, right? It's a tool to understand ourselves and others better. It doesn't dictate the success or failure of a relationship, whether it's romantic, platonic, or even professional. Ultimately, it comes down to how individuals choose to navigate those differences and, support each other's growth.
So well said. And on that note, I think we've covered a ton of ground today. Our listener is walking away with a much deeper understanding of Sagittarius, how they connect with others, and maybe even some insights into their own relationships. But as we wrap up this deep dive, one final thought to ponder. If you had to choose one word, just one, to describe the ideal partner, friend, or even colleague for a Sagittarius, what would it be and why? Think about it, and we'll catch you in our next deep dive.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Deep Dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep embracing all those, fascinating contradictions that make us who we are.